Hey guys, KRX50 here with another review. This time I'll be reviewing the Kyutama Gattai 12 Deluxe Gigant Houou from Uchu Sentai Kyuranger. This is Hou Soldier's mech, which consists of 4 components: the Hou Voyager, Hou Station, Hou Base, and Hou Kyutama. So, let's get started. Starting off, we'll look at the included Hou Kyutama. So, of course, this is number 12, as we've already seen. And this one is very similar to the one that came with the Hou Blade and Hou Shield, being primarily red with glitter inlaid into the plastic. And of course has the same mouse slide design. If we bring in the one from the changer, we can see they are pretty much the same. They have the same coloring. Obviously the patterns of the glitter are different because it's pretty random on each. But the big difference is the plastic on the bottom, where on the bottom, the one that came with the mech here, it's got a black base, whereas for the one that came with the changer, it's got clear base. Next we'll go over the functionality of the Hou Kyutama in the Seizo Blaster, though since I have already looked at this with the Seizo Blaster, I'm going to go over it a lot more quickly. And so, of course, it has the exact same sounds as the other Hou Kyutama. Next we'll look at the components of Gigant Houou from least to most important, starting off with the Hou base. So this is a launch pad for the Hou Voyager, which is pretty much just this black plastic base, which has this big bay to place the Hou Voyager. You can see it has treads along the sides, though no wheels on the bottom. Some molded in details, and you will notice what appear to be Kyutama ports back here as well as up here, and those will come into play later. So aside from that, it doesn't really do anything on its own. Next up we have the Hou Station, which is quite a misnomer because this is clearly a satellite and not a space station. So you can see that it is mainly red, black, and gold up here. It has a hexagonal pattern to it, or I guess actually octagonal, if you consider these to be individual sides as well as these, which they definitely are. You can see some nice molded and painted detail on the top. You also see these metallic blue solar panels out to the side. And then you have this piece on the back, which I'm going to not show you guys because that will actually come more into play later. It is hollow inside, but that is for its functionality. Though you can adjust the solar panels on these hinges here, as well as rotating hinges like this. And with this being a contour, it is hollow on the back, but you're not really going to see it much. And a piece just fell off there, but I'm not going to go into detail into that until later. And third, we get to the main part of the set, which is the Hou Voyager. But starting off, we need to complete it, so we'll take the Hou Kyutama and just place it in here and fold out these wings. And we have the Hou Voyager. Now this one is an interesting departure from past Voyagers because it's not really based on the animal that its constellation represents. Instead, the Hou Voyager is based on a space shuttle. So, here at the front you can see the nose and cockpit, which is right here in white, as well as it has some nice silver, red, and gold paint all throughout. Though this is really more of a faux cockpit, since obviously the cockpit of all Voyagers is the Kyutama itself. Then getting to the body, we have a couple of mini blasters on the sides. exhaust vents on the top. You can see that overall it has flame patterns similar to the ones on the Hou shield. A little bit of gold up here. Then the 4 massive boosters on the bottom, as well as the wing struts, which also have laser blasters here and here. On the back, we've got some nice molded in details. No paint. We also have, of course, the battery pack, since this does have lights and sounds. The on-off switch here, and then the speaker. So, start, we'll switch it on. So you turn on and it will announce its name. So for all of the electronic functions, the main thing you're going to use to activate is this button here. So first off, we'll press it to get our first sound, which is come on the go. For the next one, we're going to want to bring in the Hou base, raise up the camera and bring these guys back. We'll fold up the wings again. Then we'll place it onto the Hou base. So you can see it definitely is a rocket on a launch pad, or yeah, a launch pad, since it's not really tall enough to be considered a launch tower. So next we'll start up the launch sequence by pressing the button again. Then we'll press the button in the middle again. Hou Voyager. 3, 2, 1, go! Now we have a new standby music. A pretty dynamic standby music to represent it flying around in space. And while it's like this, you can press the button and give it a short press. And we get a boosting sound. Next we're going to set this off to the side and bring in the Hou station. And then we'll start the docking sequence. So, we'll press and hold the button this time. So then we're going to take the Hou Voyager and slide it up into the Hou station until it locks into place. Then we can get to the transformation. So we'll start by coming down to the legs, folding back the wing fins, then splitting them open like this. We'll come up to the body, rotate these portions of the station down, then rotate the solar panels and fold them down 2 notches. And yeah, that piece likes to come off, but it's not time for it to come off just yet. Then we'll come here to the sides and fold out the fists. Then take this piece and slide up to form the face. Then we'll take these 2 pieces off of the solar panels and place them into its hands. And here we have Gigant Houou. Now, as for the name, similarly to Gigant Brachio, the Gigant part of its name is most likely derived from the English word gigantic, or a foreign language form of gigantic. So, we just bring it in closer, can see up close, we now have the head, which is the nose cone, so it is cone shaped. You can see the kind of phoenix shape in the visor, with the head being up here in gold. We've got the chest piece where you can see the Kyutama in the center. Those top parts have now become the arms. And got little flame details here in white. These little pieces that came off of the solar panels are now the Gigant blades, which are Gigant Hou's weapons. And of course we can still see the flame patterns running down the legs. And it is nice that they split open the legs like this, so it doesn't have a case of a unileg. Obviously, with this being a Sentai mecha, it doesn't have too much articulation, mainly just in the arms, although you really don't want to bring it up this far because that'll just have it really kind of go too flush with the body, and that is probably my one complaint about the mech, is that I wish that for the transformation these parts would actually extend out so that they wouldn't look so scrunched up. So, the best you can do is have it posed like this. Although if you want to give it a little bit of a cleaner look, you can also adjust these pieces here and make it look more like a cloak or cape. Now it's got a couple more sounds it can do in this mode. So, if we bring in close and press the button here, we can get that kind of walking sound that we got from Kyuranger. And just like with the other Kyutama that come with the Voyagers, that one has Hou Soldier inside, and while it is hard to notice, they did noticeably darken the part of his body that is supposed to be black, so that's a nice touch. And then, of course, if we press it one more time, we can get the Super Galaxy sound.
Super Galaxy!
Then it'll cycle back to the transformation completion sound.
Gigant Houou!
And obviously the transformation is disengaged when you remove the Hou station. And can be reinitiated by just pressing it back on. And finally we can get to the second super combination for the series, for which we'll need Hou Voyager, Hou Voyager, Hou Station, Hou Base, and the Kyutama to the other 10 Voyagers. So, to start, we'll take Hou Voyager and start to transform it as if we were making Kyuranger. So we'll take Kajiki, Chameleon, Oushi, and Okami, and place them in like that. And we'll set that down. Then, I'm going to take Hou Voyager and remove the two booster pieces from the bottom, just like that. I'm going to set them off to the side for now, and also split off, or rather split the leg pieces here. Set that off to the side for now. Then we'll bring in Hou Base, split that in two, down the middle. We'll set it down, where they will slope inward like that. Then we'll plug it into the sockets for the Oushi and Okami Kyutama, just like that. We'll come up here to the upper torso, fold up these Kyutama. Then, with the wing fins facing down, we'll plug them into the Kyutama sockets. And fold them down like this. Then we're going to come in around to the back. Once again, going to plug this part of the Hou Voyager into Hou base, or Hou station rather. I'm going to remove this piece and set it off to the side. We'll also remove this part from here, and remove the Hou Kyutama. And I'm just going to switch this off so it doesn't get in the way. And we'll fold down the arms. And, unfortunately, the Gigant blades really do like to just fall off a lot of times because they're not really pegged in that well, because it's really just friction pegging them in place. We're going to rotate them like this and fold them down one notch. And take this whole assembly and connect it to the 4 ports on the back of Hou Voyager. Then, take this new chest piece and connect these two into the 2 sockets here on the chest. Then, we can get to adding in some of the other Kyutama. So, starting from the bottom, in these 2 sockets down here, place the Tenbin and Hibitsukai Kyutama. After the arms, we'll place in the Washi and Sasori Kyutama. And coming out to the top, I'm going to go back to where the shoulders of Gigant Hou were and place on the Ryu and Koguma Kyutama. Next, we're going to actually take off this part of Kurano's head and come around to the back and place it on the back where the new head part used to be. And finally, we'll take the headpiece, plug it in, and take the Hou Kyutama and place it on the top to reveal the face. And here we have KyutaMajin. So, as you can see, this guy is huge. He is definitely bigger than Ryutei Kurano and is also pretty impressive. Now, obviously, the big thing you can see here are all of the different Kyutama on the different parts of the body. And while that might seem like it's kind of the same problem that Tokyo Rainbow had, where it had most of the Kyutama just along the body, in this case, I think it works out a little bit better because they're more spread out and the robot overall is much more proportionate. So, gonna bring this guy in close for a better look. So starting off, we have the new head, which you can see has the basic Kyuranger starter symbol with a gem in the center here on the face, creating a sort of mask. You also have the face here, which is revealed via the Kyutama. Pressing down this button here, and that creates the face. Now we also have this Kyutama on top, which does look a little bit strange. But I think it's supposed to be, or I think it's supposed to look like, at least kind of like a turban, as rather than this mech's name being KyutaMajin, it's actually KyutaMajin. And Majin is one of the Japanese words for genie, so if this is supposed to be like a Kyutama genie, then it would make sense for it to be wearing a Kyutama-shaped turban. And I'm definitely going to go into this more in the future, and this is basically my confirmation that yes, I will eventually be doing Super Sentai Toku Toy Theory videos. But getting back to the mech at large, of course it still has the same articulation with the arms. And now the boosters to Hou Voyager have become these kind of flamethrowers or booster cannons. And yeah, you do have the combination sound in Gigant Houou because that sound was just not programmed into Kyuranger, and unfortunately, because of the way they're designed, if you want to use Kyuranger's electronics to try to light up all the different Kyutama, that unfortunately doesn't work because the Kyutama and the lighting of it only goes as far as the ones on the shoulders and the knees. So it definitely would have been nice if they had designed some kind of light tracking system with these to where you would have light that goes into here and then travels down here and out here. And, they could have probably done the same thing with the legs to where you'd have light going into here and out here. And then, they could have tried doing something with this here to where you'd have some lights that would travel up through here and into these Kyutama. But I do imagine that would have been pretty hard to engineer and pretty hard to program that all in. At the very least, this is definitely a very colorful and well-proportioned mecha, and I'd say that this is definitely an improvement over Ryutei Kyureno, as that was really pretty much just Kyureno with Ryuteo on it as a backpack and then their arms swapped around. Whereas this definitely feels like a whole new mecha that just uses, the Shishi Voyager as the base and then has the Hou or Gigant Hou as the backpack of sorts. And while I will say that this does leave out a lot of the other Voyagers, that doesn't mean that they are left without any kind of use, as if you have the cockpit Kyutama, then that means that you can actually put those on the Voyagers while they're in use here. And if you have those and maybe a spare Kyutama to put on, then you can actually still form Ryuteo while having KyutaMajin formed. And there we go. So overall, while Gigant Hou doesn't have as much playability as Kyureno and its arm/leg swapping gimmick, it definitely is a step up from Ryuteo, which just had 2 arms that you could swap around and no electronics, meaning there wasn't too much you could do with it. That being said, this is also a lot more of a pretty standard looking Sentai mech, since it doesn't have the bulky Kyutama all over it. And it does give it kind of a nicer look than the previous 2, since you would just have the 1 Kyutama in the chest, whereas the rest of the body is formed by the combination of the Hou Voyager and Hou Station. That being said, as far as the electronics go, it does have kind of the upper edge, I'd say, over the Shishi Voyager, because as the Hou Voyager, obviously you've got your kind of standard sound, which imitates the summoning sound, but then you also have the ability to simulate the rocket launch, which can further be simulated using the Hou base. You've got the cool BGM for the preparation, as well as while it's flying around. You've got the nice little boosting sound. Then you also have the sounds that you can use to simulate the combination with the Hou Station. And I do really like the way that it can fly up into Hou Station, and that docking is what initiates the transformation, instead of just pressing and hold a button to switch modes. Then when you get to Gigant Hou, of course it has its own set of sounds, and it has a bonus sound for the combination to form KyutaMajin. As far as the articulation goes, It is, of course, pretty standard for a Sentai mech having mainly just the arms, but it does have an extra bit of articulation that allows you to give it a bit more expressiveness in the poses, which are the solar panels, because it has 3 joints for each of the solar panels. One where you rotate the kind of back and forth hinge. You can also rotate the panels themselves and fold them back and forth on those hinges, which lets you change up how the pose of Gigant Hou is and can change up the dynamic of it. And of course, while this is, has a lot of good points, there also are a couple of drawbacks, those being mainly that I do wish that the arms weren't so stubby and could possibly extend out a little bit, and also the fact that the Gigant blades really do have a tendency to fall off the solar panel wings, just because they're really just very lightly pegged on there using friction only. But I'd say it makes up for those shortcomings with KyutaMajin, which I think is a really good combination. Now, a lot of people are probably going to complain about it just using the Kyutama and leaving off a lot of the other Voyagers, but I think that's actually more of a positive than a negative. First off, because, like I said, if you have the Kyutama cockpits, you can attach them to the Voyagers and still be able to play with them even if you have their main Kyutama on KyutaMajin. And, with the right amount of Kyutama, you can still even form Ryuteo while you have KyutaMajin formed. Not to mention, I think it actually ends up looking better because it doesn't have all of these pieces just kind of slapped onto it and doesn't end up looking like much of a clustered mess. And it works for Kyuranger because the Kyutama are the actual cockpits that each of the Rangers goes into. So it's a combination that allows all of the Kyurangers to come together without all of the different pieces of their mechs coming together as well. And it definitely is a much better looking combination than previous ones like Tokyo Rainbow, where it was way too tall and had way too many of the different pieces just kind of lined up on these tracks on the body. Whereas with KyutaMajin, you have them a lot more spread out, and so it's a lot more well proportioned in terms of being a mech. So overall, I can say that this is definitely a highly recommended mecha, as it both works well on its own because you don't have that limb swapping gimmick which makes you feel like you'd need to buy the other Voyagers. But if you do have them and you have all this Kyutama, you can also form the really cool combination that is KyutaMajin. So, next time I'll be reviewing the Kyutama set SP. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you're new and would like to see more, please subscribe. And for now, this is KRX50, writing off.